Hi everyone, I'm Ainsley and welcome back to my channel. I'm really sorry for not being on here for a while. I was just really busy with school and life and everything. Everything's going well with university. I'm now back home for my spring break. I just realized how much I kind of miss posting videos, even though I only posted a couple of them. I really enjoyed it and I thought I should get back to it, but I'm not going to put pressure on myself to do this or any deadlines or I have to do this many videos a month because I am a full-time student and I think it would just be way too much stress to add this as a full-time commitment along with my school, which is already a full-time commitment, as well as I have a part-time job outside of school. So I feel like keeping this as a little hobby and a little check-in would be great. If you guys want to stick around for that, great, go ahead and subscribe. Just don't expect me to have a set schedule or anything, and I hope you're okay with that. If not, move on, it's totally okay. I don't mind at all. Today I'm going to be talking about the books I read in February. I actually read 14, but I only read 12 of them. All in all, I had a pretty good reading month. I had 9 4-stars, 3 3-stars, and even though I didn't have a 5-star this month, I did have one at the beginning of March, so I'm going to talk briefly about it, but not too much because I would like to try to do wrap-ups every month, and I would like to talk about it then. First book I want to talk about is The Charm Offensive, and I gave this book 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. It is this love story that takes place on a production set that's kind of like The Bachelor or any other of those dating TV shows where there's one main person and there's a bunch of love interests that are trying to marry or end up with that person. One of the leads for this book works as a producer for the dating show. The other lead is the man who is the star of the show, the one that all the other women are vying after. I thought the story was really cute and adorable, and it talks a lot about mental health. Both of the main characters, we see from both their perspectives, and they both have mental health struggles that they deal with, and we get to see how they deal with those things and cope, as well as Charlie learning to understand that he's not straight, and Dev, who puts on a facade of being a very happy and outgoing person, learning to let people in who care about him about his own depression. I think this story was just really cute and adorable, and normally I don't read that many romances, and I was pleasantly surprised by this. I read many books this month that could be classified as romance or romantic in some sense, and I enjoyed them all. I think this experience has really shown me that I can actually enjoy romance, which is something I never really thought before. But I think I learned that the romances that I enjoy, I don't want them to just be a romance. I want them to have a little bit something more. So The Charm Offensive, along with being a romance, was a great representation for anxiety. Next, I want to talk about An Absolutely Remarkable Thing by Hank Green. This is the second time I've read this book. I really enjoyed it. It's about this girl named April May who discovers these things called the Carls that have popped up all around the world, and it is learned that these Carls may be not from this earth. It's about the world's reaction to our first interaction with alien life and how there are different sides to the story that could be told about humans' relationship with aliens, and if they're a good thing, if they're a bad thing. How can we judge the intent of something that has not told us their intent, and should we automatically see things as threats or as something that's good and something that can bring us together as a species? Moving on from that, I also read the sequel to An Absolutely Remarkable Thing, A Beautifully Foolish in Denver, this month, and this book follows the aftermath of the last book where something is majorly revealed at the end. And instead of only focusing on April May in this book, it also focuses on her friends and the people who were more background characters to her life in the first book. When the first book talks about fame and how people react to fame and experience it while they're becoming famous, this book I think talks a lot about after you've experienced that fame, after you've done that thing that made you very famous, what happens? How do you hold on to that fame, or what do you do with it? How can you help the world, or how can you help yourself after you have such a large audience that's going to listen to you? Also talks about extraterrestrial life and how humans, after experiencing such a great event that has shattered their life experience and their whole perception of the world, how that can change people and how they reel and move on, maybe, in a sense, from that. I really enjoyed this book. I think it's also 4 stars. I really enjoyed the series in general. I think it's really funny in some sections, but it's also very hard-hitting. It makes you think about humanity, our relationship with the world, and other people. The next book I want to talk about is Finlay Donovan Knocks 'Em Dead by Elle Casamano. This is the second book in the Finlay Donovan series. The first book follows this woman named Finlay Donovan who's a single mother, and she's also a writer, and when she is talking to her agent at a Panera Bread about the killing off of a character, someone overhears her and thinks that she's talking about real life events and that she's a hitwoman. And so this woman who overhears her conversation contracts Finlay to kill her husband. And from there, Finlay gets into these crazy situations. There's stuff with the mob. I don't know how much of Finlay Donovan Knocks 'Em Dead I can give away to you because I don't want to spoil the first one. But at the end of Finlay Donovan's killing it, the first book, Finlay learns that someone has put a posting on an anonymous forum asking for someone to kill Finlay's ex-husband. Finlay is figuring out how to stop this murder from happening because she doesn't want her ex-husband Stephen to be killed. I enjoyed this book. I don't think I enjoyed it as much as the first one. I felt that the crazy antics, while fun, were becoming a little overused, and while you have to suspend your disbelief when reading the series, I felt at some points I just couldn't, and I found it really unbelievable and not as fun and quirky as the first book. I also read the third book in the series, Finlay Donovan Jumps the Gun. In this one, Finlay goes to a police academy, this opportunity for civilians for a week to go to police academy or police boot camp, where she gets to learn about how police investigations go underhand, as well as she gets to interact with one of her love interests, who is a cop. I gave this book 3 stars. I think my enjoyment of the Finlay Donovan books is decreasing, and I know there will be a 4th book in the series, but I'm not sure if I'll pick it up. Maybe I'll see what other people say before I pick it up. For me personally, the charm of the series has gone downhill. There was some scenes and moments that I really enjoyed. It didn't feel as fun and quirky and out there as the first book did, or even as the second book did. I had a problem with the character Finlay also. Finlay, in my opinion, is not that unique or interesting of a person or character for many men in her life to be attracted to her and interested in dating her, or even just strangers being interested in her. I just feel that I haven't been given a reason for why everybody is so infatuated and interested in Finlay. I just wonder sometimes how so many men are in love or interested in Finlay when realistically they wouldn't be. Moving on, I want to talk about The Bodyguard. So this book was another romance I read, and I gave it 4 stars, and it's about this bodyguard who is tasked with protecting this famous actor when he goes to visit his family. His mother has cancer and is going through chemo, and he wants to be around her and his family, but he doesn't want them to know that he needs a bodyguard because he doesn't want to worry them. So he asks his bodyguard to pretend to be his girlfriend, and they initiate fake dating, and from there, you know how fake dating goes, where they, do cute stuff, and then they eventually fall in love. I found this very adorable and cute. The narration is in first person point of view, and so Hannah is saying I, me, that type of stuff, and sometimes it could be a little annoying because she is, at points, talking directly to the audience, and I found some of those bits kind of either cute or annoying. I could never really get a firm stance on it. The next book I'm going to talk about is The Wife Upstairs. I gave this book 3 stars. It's a retelling of Jane Eyre, where it follows this woman named Jane, who is a dog walker, who eventually starts a relationship with one of the men in the town named Eddie, and it's a whirlwind relationship and romance. And one part of the story is this romance, but another is Eddie's first wife recently died in a boat accident where she drowned, and throughout the book, Jane becomes more suspicious of Eddie and his involvement in his first wife's death. And I think this book was an interesting retelling and reimagining of Jane Eyre, because there were definitely some elements of Jane Eyre that was very thriller-esque, and if taken from another perspective could be kind of scary, especially with the idea of a wife being in an attic. And I think there's always a problem with retellings and reimaginings of stories where it should stay loyal to the source material to an extent, but it needs to do something different. The Wife Upstairs did do something different with the plot points of Jane Eyre. I just feel that it could have been done better, and I think the twists could have been less obvious from the beginning. I enjoy this for what it was trying to be, but I don't think I would recommend this to people who aren't fans of Jane Eyre originally. I don't think this is a good enough thriller to stand on its own outside of being a reimagining of the Jane Eyre. So the next book I want to talk about is The Bear and the Nightingale. This is the first book in a series. So the story is inspired by early Russian history, I believe around 11th or 10th century Russian history, but with magical realism elements added to it. And it follows this young girl named Vasila who can see these old gods in her house, and the world around her is becoming much more Christian, and they are trying to destroy the old gods. Along with this, her stepmother, who can also see these gods, but is a heavenly devout Christian, and shames Vasila for interacting and worshipping these old gods. She kind of fears Vasila, and she wants her to either get married or join a convent. And I actually really enjoy this story. I am currently taking a Russian iconography class at university, and so there is a character who is an iconographer who writes icons. Because of my Russian sacred art class, I know a lot about Russian icons as well as Russian Orthodox Christianity, and so seeing that in this book was actually kind of fun for me personally, because I already knew a lot about iconography and Orthodox Christianity. I hope to continue in this series. The next book I read was Catherine House. I gave this book 4 stars. It follows this girl named Inez as she is welcomed into Catherine House, which is a 3-year university or college-like institution where for 3 years you stay at Catherine House, no breaks, and you devote your entire education in being to Catherine House. Throughout the book we see Inez become more and more indoctrinated into Catherine House. We learn a bit more about the secrets that Catherine House is hiding. I really enjoy this book. I know a lot of the critiques of this book talk about how Inez is not a very proactive character and how she never tries to learn more about Catherine House. A lot of Inez's narration is not her actively trying to learn more about Catherine House. It's her experiencing day-to-day life, being in a school environment. But I kind of enjoy that because not all main characters and not all people put in that situation of being in a mysterious institution is going to try to learn more about the secrets. They're just going to go through it and try to get the best experience they can out of it. I really liked the setting of Catherine House and the vibes it gave off. The university I go to is considered very small compared to other American universities or universities in the area, so there is a very tight and close-knit community, and so the relationship that the people who were students at Catherine House had with Catherine House was kind of similar to my relationship with my university, and I kind of liked that, and it was kind of fun for me. And the next book I read was The Bone Shard Daughter. I gave this one 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. It's another start to a series, so I started 2 series this month, but I did finish one of them, and I guess you could call it 2 if you count Finley Donovan, even though the last book isn't out yet, but I'm not sure if I'm going to continue. So The Bone Shard Daughter follows multiple characters, and it's all in this world where everybody has this thing called a bone shard that is taken out of them, and people who can manipulate bone shards use it to animate creatures that then they can put commands into who will obey them. So one of the main characters, Rin, is the Emperor's daughter, and she is trying to gain more power from her father. The Emperor doesn't trust her, but she doesn't trust the Emperor, and she wants to gain power from him. The other perspectives are a smuggler who's looking for his wife, and a governor's daughter who's in love with somebody who is connected to the rebellion that is called the Shardless Few, who do not want to give up their bone shards to the Emperor. I thought this was a very good introduction to this series. Obviously this world is very expansive. I think I will continue in it. I really liked it, and I want to see more from these characters and from this world. The next book is The Hollow Places by T. Kingfisher. I really enjoy this book. I actually unintentionally read this book at the same time with one of my close friends at university, and I thought that was kind of funny. This book follows this woman named Kara, who after her recent divorce moved in with her uncle, who owns a museum or oddities exhibit that many tourists go to. She finds this portal to another world in this museum. I really enjoyed this book. It's a horror. I thought some bits were very suspenseful. Often this book is compared to House of Leaves as a shorter version of it and more concise version of it, and I definitely agree. I also read House of Leaves. The Hollow Places remind me a lot of the Navison Files section of House of Leaves, so if that is something you read, or you couldn't really get into the other parts of House of Leaves but enjoyed the Navison section of it, then I would recommend The Hollow Places. The last book I read this month was The Beautiful Ones by Sylvia Maria Garcia, and I rated it 3.5 stars. This book took me forever to finish. I was reading, I don't remember what month I started this, but I know I started this last year, and it just took me completely forever to actually finish this book. I often picked up this book and then put it down and picked it up again and put it down, and I finally finished it. It follows this girl named Nina who is originally from the country but has moved to Lazai to be with her aunt and uncle, who will introduce her to a society, and eventually she will be expected to marry. Nina has the ability to move objects around, and that is something that is common in this world. It's more socially acceptable in men, and normally people who have these abilities work in entertainment and as magicians. So one of the other characters that we follow is this man named Hector Arboy, is a person who has the ability also for telekinesis and the ability to move objects, and he's a stage performer. And he and Nina start a relationship, and a drama goes from there. This book was, in my opinion, very dramatic. I think the language in this book was very beautiful. I've read other books by Sylvia Maria Garcia, and I've always found her writing to be very beautiful and descriptive. This was no exception. I just wasn't in love with the characters. So I had no 5 stars this month, which is okay. I still had plenty of 4 stars and some 3 stars, so I would describe this as a very good reading month. But I did have a 5-star in March, which was How High We Go in the Dark, and I'll briefly mention it here because I did read a good chunk of it in February, but I finished it in March. So How High We Go in the Dark is a novel that features many short stories that center around this pandemic that has started in the 2030s, so around 10 years from now. Each chapter centers on a different part of the pandemic. I really enjoyed it. While I didn't love every chapter, each of them had value to the overall story of human resilience in the face of adversity, and how we as a species interact with pandemics and the idea of people dying around us, and what do we want as a species. And I really enjoyed it. I will talk more about it another time. I'm trying to control myself to not talk too much because this one does not technically belong in the February wrap-up, but I just thought it would be good to mention because I loved it so much, and I wanted you to know I did read a 5-star. I really enjoyed this book, and it will be something I will think about in the long term. So I just want to thank everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed my February wrap-up. I know it's a little late and I haven't been on YouTube yet for a long time, but I really wanted to start making videos again because I really enjoyed this. If you want to stick around, feel free to subscribe and comment if you've read any of these books and let me know your opinions. And thank you very much for watching. Have a great day. Bye!